Hello ladies and gentlemen, in this video we are going to cover the current affairs. For mobile optimized ebooks, please install GKToday Academy app. You can attempt the quiz in this app and you can read detailed explanation. For regular updates, please join our Telegram channel. The link is given in the description box. Now we have started a new channel, Civils Academy. You can subscribe to it if you find it relevant. Now we are going to cover important news events. So first is Gymnastic Federation of India. Actually recently this federation was in news as Ministry of Youth and Sports Affairs gave recognition to this Gymnastic Federation of India as a national sports federation. Now, recognition means it will remain valid. Next is Amazonia mission. Recently it was in news because of PSLV C-51. So, this is a launch vehicle of ISRO, that is Indian Space Research Organization, and it is going to launch the Amazonia satellite. This Amazonia satellite is a satellite of Brazil. Now, this is a very significant launch. Why it is significant? Because this mission is the first dedicated commercial mission of NSIL. NSIL stands for New Space India Limited. So why it is significant? Because it is the first dedicated commercial mission of NSIL, that is New Space India Limited. Now this NSIL is the commercial nodal agency of ISRO. Commercial means it is going to launch the satellites of other countries and it will earn money from that. So with this PSLV C-51, this Amazonia 1 mission will be launched and it is an initiative of Brazil. Next is Ligia Noronha. So recently C was in news as C has been appointed as the United Nations Assistant Secretary General and head of the New York office of UNEP. C is Indian economist. Next is G20. So recently this G20 was in news. Why? Because of its central bank governors meeting. Please note that in this meeting, our finance minister, not the Reserve Bank governor, but the finance minister attended this meeting. Who is our present finance minister? She is Nirmala Sitharaman. So she attended this meeting and this was held under the presidency of Italy. So 2021 is under the presidency of Italy. 2020 was under the presidency of Saudi. 2022 is going to be under the presidency of Indonesia. And 23 is going to be under India, 24 is going to be under Brazil. Recently, Saudi Arabia was also in news as USA imposed sanctions on Saudi Arabia. Next is Namma Cargo Service. So, as the name suggests, it is a cargo service and it has been launched by Karnataka. So, the name of state is important here. Next is GDP. So, GDP stands for Gross Domestic Product. In this context, GDP data is released by NSO. What is NSO? It is National Statistical Office. NSO is under MOSPI, that is Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. This NSO was constituted after the merger of NSSO and CSO. What is NSSO? It is National Sample Survey Office. What is CSO? It is Central Statistics Office. Next is Green Energy and Environment Leadership Award. So this award is to be given to the Prime Minister of India, and this award is to be given at CERA Summit. What is CERA? It stands for Cambridge Energy Research Associates. So this CERA Week Conference will be organized by IHS Markit. Please note that the spelling of Markit is MARKIT. So this IHS Markit is going to organize the CERA conference, and during that conference, Prime Minister Modi will be given this Global Energy and Environment Leadership Award. What is the full form of CERA? It is Cambridge Energy Resource Associates. Next is National Science Day. So it was celebrated on 28th of February. Theme was Future of STI. You need not to remember the full theme, but just remember the keywords. So the theme was Future of STI. STI stands for Science, Technology and Innovations. Apart from that, on 27th of February, World NGO Day was celebrated. NGO stands for Non-Governmental Organization. Next is State of Environment Report 2021. So recently this report was released by CSE, that is Center for Science and Environment. It is not-for-profit center and headquarters is in New Delhi. Next is the presidential years. So this is a memo of our late president Pranab Mukherjee. He is popularly known as Pranab Da. Next is postal ballot for NRI. NRI are non-resident Indians. So recently Election Commission announced the elections in 5 states. That means schedule was announced. So these 5 states are Assam, Puducherry, Actually, this is Union Territory, Kerala, West Bengal, and Tamil Nadu. So recently schedule was announced for these 4 states and 1 Union Territory. And recently Election Commission announced that for these elections, NRIs will not have any postal ballot facility. Postal ballot means suppose you are in USA and you are from Tamil Nadu. Now elections are going to be in your state. So right now, if you want to vote, you will have to come to India and you will have to vote in your constituency. But if postal ballots are announced, that means if this facility is allowed, then you will get a postal ballot electronically. Electronically means like you get a mail or email. Similarly, you will get a postal ballot. In simplest term, you will get the list of candidates of your constituency and you can select A, B, C, so on. Once you will fill this, then you will return it back to your constituency and your vote will be considered. So in case of postal ballot, you need not to come to India to vote. However, right now for NRIs, this facility will not be allowed for these elections. That is why this entire issue was in news. Next is Michael Somare. So Michael Somare passed away recently. He was the first Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea. Now why he was so significant? Because he was known as the father of Papua New Guinea. And that is why it is important from exam perspective. Next is Chena Bridge. So as the name suggests, it is going to be on Chena River and it is world's highest rail bridge. And this will be built by Konkan Railway Corporation. Next is Vodianova. So she is a supermodel from Russia. Why she was in news recently? Because she is the new Goodwill Ambassador of United Nations. Next is Matam Venkatrao. So recently M. Venkatrao was in news as M. Venkatrao has been appointed as the MD and CEO of Central Bank of India. Next is E-Parivahan Vyavastha. So it is a transportation facility launched by the Himachal Pradesh government. And last is Yusuf Pathan. Yusuf Pathan is a cricketer. Recently he announced his retirement. Apart from him, Vinay Kumar also announced his retirement and he is a cricketer and he is the former captain of Karnataka team. Saras Ajivika Mela. So this was a fair and it was organized by Ministry of Rural Development. This was organized at Noida Haat. Noida is in Uttar Pradesh. So different craftsmen from all over the country participated in this Mela to show their regional culture, regional craft and cuisines. Next is IAF, that is Indian Air Force, is going to participate in the 70th anniversary celebrations of Sri Lankan Air Force. And for this purpose, 3 names were in news. One is Surya Kiran, another is Sarang and third is LCA Tejas. So these will participate in the celebrations of Sri Lankan Air Force. These are the entities of Indian Air Force. So these 2, that is Surya Kiran and Sarang, are the aerobic display team of Indian Air Force. LCA stands for Light Combat Aircraft. Next is India gifted 1971 war helicopter to Bangladesh and as a return gift, Bangladesh gifted us F-86 Sabra aircraft. You need not to know much more than this. For this news, this much is enough. Now who is the Chief of Air Force? He is RKS Bhadoria. Please note that this year, that means 2021, is being celebrated as 50 years of India-Bangladesh relationship. Bangladesh became a separate country after India's victory over Pakistan in 1971 war. Next is Vivad Se Vishwas scheme. Recently the scheme was in news because the deadline for the scheme has been extended. This is a scheme for direct tax. That means if you have any dispute related to direct tax, then you can use this scheme for that dispute resolution. Next is Jamal Khashoggi. Actually he was from Saudi Arabia. Now recently he was in news because as per USA, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia was involved in his murder. And that is why sanctions were imposed on certain personalities which were involved in the murder of Jamal Khashoggi. So first thing first, he was associated to Saudi Arabia and he was murdered in Turkey, in Istanbul. Please remember this term Khashoggi ban. That means it is a ban imposed on those personalities which were involved in the murder of this Jamal Khashoggi. Recently, USA imposed these visa restrictions. Next is State of Terror. So this is going to be a new novel and for this Hillary Clinton collaborated with L. Penny. Next is Advantage India, the story of Indian tennis. So this is a book by Anindya Datta. Next is Road from Plastic Waste. So Tripura built a first of its kind road from plastic waste. Now this is not a first of its kind in India. but in Tripura, it is first of its kind. That means the road has been built from the plastic waste after its recycling. Next is National Protein Day. So this was celebrated on 27th of February. Apart from that, 27th of February was also celebrated as World NGO Day. NGO stands for Non-Governmental Organization. Recently, NGO were in news because of FCRA. FCRA stands for Foreign Contribution Regulation. So this is an act through which NGO can get the foreign funding. That means in order to get the foreign funding, they need to register themselves as per the provisions of this FCRA. Answer in comment box, which is the nodal ministry to implement this FCRA? 2003 ceasefire agreement. So this was agreement between India and Pakistan, and both countries agreed to observe this ceasefire agreement. Ceasefire means we are not going to. Next is Taiwan. So recently Taiwan was in news as India announced donation of 1.5 million to National Research Institute of Chinese Medicine, and this institute is related to Taiwan, and this is significant. Why so? Because this is the first time Indian government has granted to a Taiwan institution. In this context, please read about One China policy of Taiwan. Please read about One China policy, and please read about ROC versus People's Republic of China, that is PRC. Next is Golden Globe Awards 2021. So this was 78th edition. Recently it was organized virtually, and the award ceremony was filmed in USA. So in the best film category, two movies were in news. One is Nomadland, so it won the best picture award in drama category, and second is Borat, subsequent movie. It won the award in comedy or musical category. So these were the two best film. The Crown was selected as the best TV series. Next is Odisha. So recently Odisha was in news as it is going to be the host of Indian Women's League, and this is a football tournament. Next is HP. So recently HP was in news because it has developed the first ever personal computer with the plastic waste in ocean. That means it recycled the plastic waste from ocean and then it used that material for this PC, and it is the first company that has utilized the plastic waste in this manner. Now please note that this is the first ever consumer PC which has been built with the help of plastic waste in ocean. Next is Russia. So recently Russia was in news as it launched Arctica M. This is the name of satellite by Russia to monitor climate in Arctic. Now for Arctic there is Arctic Council. Answer in comment box whether India is a member of this council or not. Next is Zero Discrimination Day. So this was celebrated on 1st of March. On the other hand, 28th of February was observed as Rare Disease Day. 28th of March was also celebrated as National Science Day. 1st of March was also celebrated as World Civil Defense Day. Next is Sugamya Bharat app. So there is a campaign, Accessible India campaign. The objective of this campaign is to make things accessible for the differentially abled people. For example, the bus should be accessible so that they can use it, or the toilets should be accessible so that they can use it. So this is a campaign or initiative by the government to make things accessible for the differentially abled people. In this context, recently this Sugamya Bharat app has been launched, and this entire initiative is part of Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. Present minister is Thawarchand Gehlot. So he recently launched this mobile app. Apart from that, he also launched a handbook, and it is Assess the Photo Digest. Next is Priority 1 Partner. So to ensure more defense cooperation, India provided the status of Priority 1 Partner to Sri Lanka. So now both India and Sri Lanka will be able to collaborate more in the defense sector. Next is Vinesh Fogart. So she is a wrestler. Recently she was in news because she won the gold medal in Ukraine in 53 kg category. Next is R. Ashwin. That is Ravichandran Ashwin. So he is a cricketer. Recently he was in news because he became the fastest Indian bowler to take 400 test wicket, and he achieved this milestone in his 77th test match. And last news is related to Center of Excellence in Gaming. So INB Ministry, that is Information and Broadcasting Ministry, which is headed by Prakash Javadekar. So this ministry is going to collaborate with IIT Bombay for a Center of Excellence in Gaming. The name of book is The Mystery of Parsi Lawyer, and it is authored by Sarabani Basu. Next is Joe Biden, American Dreamer. So this is a biography of current US President, and author is Ivan Osnos. Next is Fuel. So petrol and diesel. are outside the purview of GST. What is GST? It is goods and service tax. It is indirect tax. Now they are outside the purview of GST. That's why it is argued that the price of petrol and diesel is very high in our country. Why so? Because central government right now impose excise duty on petrol and state government impose sales tax or VAT, that is value added tax. Now the argument is that this fuel should be under purview of GST so that there is uniform application of tax. Now please answer in comment box whether excise duty and custom duty are subsumed under GST or not. And also answer what is the maximum tax percentage, that means tax slab, highest tax slab under GST. Next is World Wildlife Day. So it was celebrated on 3rd of March. National Safety Day will be celebrated on 4th of March. Next is Hurun Global Rich List. So recently this list was published. As per this list, Elon Musk is richest person in India. Mr. Ambani is richest and overall he is on 8th position. Next is St. George Orthodox Church. So this church is in Kerala. Why this church was in news recently? Because ASI is going to declare it as a monument of national importance. What is ASI? It is Archaeological Survey of India. It is under Ministry of Culture. Next is NFSA 2013. So NFSA is National Food Security Act. It is an act of 2013. As per this act, the food is provided to the poor people at subsidized cost. Now, as per this act, right now, the government provide food to 75% of rural population and 50% of urban population. And this food is provided at subsidized rate. What is this subsidized rate? So, as per this act, rice is provided at the rate of 3 rupee per kg, wheat is provided at 2 rupee per kg, and grains are provided at 1 rupee per kg. So why this act was in news recently? Because Niti Aayog has said that instead of covering 75% rural population and 50% urban population, we should cover only those people who are actual needy. This will reduce the burden on the government. So what Niti Aayog has suggested? It has suggested that in rural areas, we should target to cover 60% instead of 75%. In urban areas, we should target to cover 40% instead of current 50%. That's why this entire act was in news. Now please note that the term PDS, that is Public Distribution System, is used frequently. So this PDS system is also as per this NFSA Act. That means we provide food through this PDS as per the provisions of this NFSA Act. Next is video KYC. What is KYC? It is know your customer. So whenever you want to open an account in bank, they will ask for your identity like your Aadhaar card, your photograph and all that. This is KYC. Now suppose you want to open your account online. So you submitted your documents. Now to verify it, the bank will video call you. This is video KYC. That means they will video call you for the authentication of the information that you have provided. So recently, two RRB were in news because they approved this video KYC system. These two banks are Telangana Gramin Bank and Andhra Pradesh Gramin Vikas Bank. So this is first of its kind thing done by any RRB in our country. RRB stands for Regional Rural Bank. In RRB, there are three major components. One is central government, second is state government, and third is sponsor bank. So in case of these two banks, the sponsor bank is SBI. So the shares in RRB are in this proportion. That means 50% of the shares are with central government, 35% of shares are with sponsor bank, and 15% are with state government. So please remember this proportion because in exams sometimes the question is direct that how much is the contribution of say state government or of central government or of sponsor bank. Next is shadow pad. So this is the malware. Malware stands for malicious software. So why this malware was in news recently? Because a report was published in New York Times. As per that report, a malware of China was responsible for the power outage in Mumbai last year. Name of malware is Shadow Pad and it is associated with China. In our country, what is the nodal authority for such issues? It is CERT, that is Computer Emergency Response Team. It is under MEITY, that is Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. Next is Global Bio India 2021. So recently Dr. Harshvardhan inaugurated this second edition of Global Bio India 2021 and this was inaugurated in New Delhi in virtual mode. Virtual mode means online. So this event is organized to show the potential of our biotechnology sector. Please note that the objective of India is to build a bioeconomy of size 150 billion by 2025. Next is Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha TV. Now these are merged. That means instead of two, now there will be one TV network, and it is Sansad TV. And Ravi Kapoor has been appointed as the CEO of the Sansad TV on a contractual basis for a period of 1 year. Now in this context, one committee is important, and the name of this committee is Surya Prakash Committee. So the Surya Prakash Committee recommended that Lok Sabha TV and Rajya Sabha TV should be merged, and on the basis of recommendation of that committee, now these have been merged, and the name of new network is Sansad TV. CEO is going to be Ravi Kapoor. Last news is related to PIB. So PIB stands for Press Information Bureau. So now Mr. Jaideep Bhatnagar has been appointed as new DG of PIB. DG stands for Director General. Previous DG was Kuldeep Singh Dhatwalia. Recently, Haryana was in news because of a bill, and this bill seems to reserve 75% of the job opportunities for the local people of Haryana in the private sector. That means in the private sector, suppose there is job creation of 200 jobs. So 75% will be filled by the people from Haryana itself. This is for the private sector, and this is for those jobs where salary is up to 50,000 rupees. Next is cafe regulations. So in examiner may directly ask you, cafe regulations are related to which field? Cafe stands for Corporate Average Fuel Efficiency. So it is related to fuel efficiency or pollution because of vehicles. So cafe regulations majorly focus on carbon dioxide's emissions. On the other hand, BS norms, that is Bharat Stage norms, focus on the NOx, that is nitrogen oxides emission, and SOx, that is sulfur oxides emission. Full form of CAFE stands for Corporate Average Fuel Efficiency. Next is Naga River. So recently this river was in news because of pollution abatement project. This river flows in the city of Nagpur. In fact, Nagpur derives its name from this Naga River. Next is exercise Desert Flag. So this exercise is multinational exercise and it is hosted by UAE. India is going to participate in this exercise. It is Air Force exercise. So obviously Indian Air Force is going to participate in it. Next is Better Than Cash Alliance. So this is an alliance of United Nations. Now recently Addition Alliance was also in news. Answer in comment box. This Addition Alliance is associated with which organization? Now coming back to this Better Than Cash Alliance. This alliance is related to promotion of digital payments. Recently, this Better Than Cash Alliance in association with Government of India and FICCI organized this Merchant Digitization Summit 2021. Next is Vernon Jordan. So recently Vernon Jordan passed away, and Vernon Jordan was from USA and he was civil rights activist. Next is West Container Terminal. So recently this West Container Terminal of Colombo Port was in news as Sri Lankan cabinet approved BOT proposal, that is build, operate and transfer proposal for the development of this West Container Terminal of Colombo Port, and for this 3 countries are going to be participant. These 3 countries are Sri Lanka, India and Japan. India and Japan will have 85% stakes in this West Container Terminal of Colombo Port. Please note that recently Sri Lanka was also in news because of East Container Terminal, as it unilaterally cancelled that port project. That means it announced that it is not going to cooperate or it is not going to collaborate with any other country for this port project. Next is related to AIBA Champions and Veterans Committee. AIBA stands for International Boxing Association. So this committee was in news as Mary Kom has been appointed as the chairperson of this committee. Mary Kom is from India. Now please answer in comment box, she is from which state of India? Since she has been appointed as the chairperson of this boxing committee, so obviously she is a boxer. Next is SBI. It is State Bank of India. Recently SBI joined Link. So it is a platform of JP Morgan and it is a blockchain based payment network of JP Morgan. Next is Khelo India Winter Games. So these winter games held in Gulmarg and Jammu and Kashmir won the highest medals in these Khelo India Winter Games. India's first Dolphin Research Center. So this is going to be in Bihar, and this center is going to be on the banks of river Ganga. Next is world's first platypus sanctuary. So this is going to be in Australia. What is platypus? It is egg-laying mammal. Next is yield. So this is the name of initiative by Axis Securities, and it is a first of its kind initiative by Axis Securities, and it is a platform for retail investors. So this specific event is related to banking sector, and it is important only for bank exams. For state pieces, it is not so important. Next is Mohammed Al Khaja. So recently, Israel and UAE normalized their ties after Abraham Accord, and USA played a key intermediary role in this Abraham Accord. So as per this, both countries decided to establish their embassies. Now recently, UAE envoy Mohammed Al Khaza was in news as he arrived in Israel, and he is the first ever ambassador from UAE for Israel. That's why it is significant. Next is International Year of Millets. So 2023 is going to be International Year of Millets, and recently UNGA, that is United Nations General Assembly, adopted India's proposal to mark 2023 as Year of Millets. Next is Philippines. So recently Philippines was in news as India and Philippines signed an agreement, and as per that agreement, India is going to provide BrahMos cruise missiles to Philippines. BrahMos is considered as the world's fastest supersonic missile, and for this India and Russia partnered. The name of BrahMos is derived from the name of two rivers in India and Russia. Brahm is derived from Brahmaputra, and Mos is derived from Moskova River of Russia. Next is Kerian Pollard. So recently he was in news because he became the third batsman in the history of international cricket to hit 6 sixes in an over, and he is from West Indies. So which are first two batsmen? One is Herschel Gibbs. So he was a cricketer from South Africa. Another cricketer is Yuvraj Singh. He is from India. Next is CRPF, that is Central Reserve Police Force. So CRPF are part of CAPF, and CAPF are under MHA. Recently Mr. Kuldeep Singh took over as the DG of CRPF. Actually, the previous chief was AP Maheshwari, and he recently retired. That's why he took additional charge. Next is ease of living in cities. So recently Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs released a ranking, and this is related to ease of living in cities. As per this ranking, Bengaluru is on top position. That means Bengaluru is the best city in terms of ease of living. In terms of cities with less than 1 million population, Shimla is on top position. Next is related to Indo-Tibet border. So Arunachal Pradesh is going to develop 3 model villages on the Indo-Tibet border. So the idea is to improve our infrastructure in the border areas. Next is spectrograph. So recently this Aryabhatta Research Institute of Observational Science was in news, and this is an institute in Nainital. Recently the scientist of this institute developed a spectrograph, and the name of the spectrograph is Aris Devasthal Faint Object Spectrograph and Camera. So 2 important points about it. A, it is indigenously developed. That means it has been developed by India itself. B, it has been developed by the scientist of ARIES, and this ARIES stands for Aryabhatta Research Institute of Observational Sciences, and this is situated in Nainital. Next is SBI International Assess. So recently State Bank of India Mutual Funds launched its first overseas offering, and this is given the name SBI International Assess. So this will invest in the US markets, and it is a scheme investing in the mutual fund, and those mutual fund are going to invest in the market of USA. So these were the most important news events. That was all for the day. Thank you.